Plus, get up to thousands of dollars more for your trade. Get started now online at Koons.com.
Tonight, breaking news, Hurricane Hermine ready to strike. Widespread flooding, damaging winds up to 75 miles per hour. And now, parts of Florida under a tornado watch. Plus, millions in the Northeast could see a Labor Day washout. Our team in the storm zone. Disaster on the launch pad. The SpaceX rocket exploding in a huge ball of fire, destroying a $200 million satellite to be used by Facebook. Mixed message, Donald Trump's hardline stand on undocumented immigrants. So today, why is he saying he's, quote, softening his position? The ABC News exclusive, basketball star Dwayne Wade speaking out about the death of his cousin in Chicago and how Trump responded to the tragedy. And lost and found, 2 5-year-old children flying alone on separate flights. The airline putting them on the wrong planes to the wrong cities. How did this happen?
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
And good evening, I'm Tom Yamas in for David tonight, and we begin with that massive storm system growing by the minute. Hurricane Hermine about to strike, the first hurricane in 11 years to make landfall in Florida. Fierce wind and heavy rain already battering the central part of the state. The rain and storm surge triggering flash floods in Clearwater. Up to 10 inches could fall. But take a look at the satellite. The hurricane's effects reaching far beyond Florida, up the Atlantic coast, all the way to the Northeast. Millions of Americans will feel the storm's power this holiday weekend. We have several reports. Ginger Z standing by, but we begin with Rob Marciano on the Florida shore where they're bracing for impact. Rob.
Tom, the winds have been picking up the wave action. Look at this, really rolling in here. The tide actually should be going out, but the storm surge keeps bringing it back in. Hurricane Hermine still over 100 miles to our south and west, but it is taking a toll on this part of Florida.
Tonight, Hurricane Hermine bearing down and gaining strength with conditions deteriorating rapidly.
Please protect your property and evacuate immediately.
Officials warning residents, get out now before it's too late.
Bottom line, it's life-threatening. If you need to go to a shelter, go now. Don't wait.
Storm surge now above the seawall in Clearwater Beach. Police patrolling in Humvees there. In Cedar Key, Tony Frazier hoping these sheets of metal hold up to the storm.
There's no way to make anything safe. It's Mother Nature.
This part of Florida extremely susceptible to storm surge. At the height of the storm, at high tide, the water will easily be up and over this railing, if not over my head.
The governor urging Floridians to get ready with a 3-day supply of food and water. They're now emptying store shelves and filling up their gas tanks.
Storms have really kind of taken a rest these past few years. Are you worried about amnesia? Are you worried about people being complacent?
That is my biggest worry, complacency.
The storm already wreaking havoc overnight. In Sarasota, flash flooding, trapping residents in their homes. First responders going door to door to help them get out. Northwest of Tampa, more than 200 hospital patients evacuated after a fire and power outage. Lightning the likely cause.
The police chief telling me that once the winds get over 40 miles an hour, and we're almost there, and if you've chosen not to evacuate and need emergency services, you're on your own. It's going to be a long night. Tom?
Long night is right. All right, Rob, stay safe. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z is also in the storm zone with the hurricane track tonight. Ginger.
Tom, we're still some 6 miles from Open Gulf and just a couple of blocks from the river, but the water is already up a foot and we are still hours from landfall, which will happen late tonight into early tomorrow morning. Let me take you straight to the maps. Hurricane Hermine right now, 75+ mile-per-hour winds, and you can see that tornado watch from Melbourne up to the state line. We put the Futurecast on so you can get an idea of when it makes landfall, what the effects will be. 5 to 10 inches of rain easily. Some places could get locally 20 inches. The storm surge at peak 6 to 9 feet. We've got a new moon tonight. We've got high tide coming in similar places. And then it moves quickly by 7 a.m. into Georgia. And that's why you see those advisories all the way up to North Carolina. Tropical storm warnings all the way up into South Carolina. And that path hugging the coast as far north as Sandy Hook, New Jersey by the time we reach Sunday afternoon. Tom?
Ginger, thank you. And on that point, Hurricane Hermine is already making a mess for travelers, and the holiday weekend is just beginning. From flooded roads to airport ground stops, this Labor Day could mean trouble all the way up to the crowded Northeast. ABC's Lindsay Janis with the travel report.
Tom, nearly 16 million Americans are hoping to fly this weekend. The airlines are warning people to expect major delays and cancellations. If you want to change your flights because of the hurricane, all the main carriers will allow you to do that for free. Some are even letting you cancel for a full refund. All of the airports in central and northern Florida will likely be affected. There has already been a ground stop in Charlotte. Here in Charleston, there are delays that will likely move up the East Coast to major airports if Hermine maintains its northern track this weekend. Tom?
Lindsay Janice for us tonight. Lindsay, thank you. Next to that other big story we're following, that disaster on the launch pad, all caught on camera. Take a look at this. The explosions seen and heard for miles. The fire destroying the rocket and the $200 million satellite on board that Facebook was planning to use. ABC's David Curley on the catastrophe at Cape Canaveral.
It's a test that goes terribly wrong. This SpaceX rocket erupting on the pad like a bomb going off. And it wasn't just one explosion, several followed. The force of the blast felt by residents miles away from Cape Canaveral.
Like a small earthquake. That's a lot of power.
SpaceX was planning to test fire the rocket ahead of this weekend's launch. It was filling it with fuel, including the tank in the upper stage, when something fails, catastrophically. It's clear the explosion starts there. So big it was picked up on radar. Along with the rocket, its cargo, seen here falling in flames, was lost too. Inside, an Israeli communications satellite that Facebook hoped to use, its first big venture into space. In Africa, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg said in a post, "I'm deeply disappointed that SpaceX's launch failure destroyed our satellite, which would have provided internet service across the continent." It is the second major setback for SpaceX and its CEO Elon Musk. A little more than a year ago, one of its Falcon 9s blew up on takeoff.
We're going to have accidents.
Former astronaut Mark Kelly is on SpaceX's Crew Safety Advisory Board.
So this isn't a death knell, this is just a setback.
It's just a setback. We can figure out, in this case, what happened, and we'll make sure that that doesn't happen again.
SpaceX will not fly again until a cause is determined and fixed, and that could complicate the space calendar. The private company was scheduled to take supplies to the International Space Station in November. Tom?
David, thank you. Let's turn to politics now and Donald Trump's fiery speech on immigration after his trip across the border to Mexico. In Phoenix, Trump detailed his plans for a crackdown, yet today he said his position had actually softened. ABC's John Carl sorts it out.
In Ohio today, Donald Trump portrayed his immigration plan as positive and all-American.
We will treat everyone with dignity, respect, and compassion. But our greatest compassion will be for the American citizen.
But for all the talk Trump would soften his stance on immigration, he's gone in the opposite direction, embracing what he called extreme measures to limit the flow of immigrants, as he outlined his plan in Arizona.
Extreme vetting. I want extreme. It's going to be so tough. And if somebody comes in, that's fine, but they're going to be good. It's extreme.
And portraying undocumented immigrants as criminals.
Countless Americans who have died in recent years would be alive today if not for the open border policies of this administration.
In a single day, there seemed to be two Trumps, fiery and uncompromising in Arizona, and just hours earlier, diplomatic and soft-spoken in Mexico.
The bond between our two countries is deep and sincere.
There, he even seemed to pull his punches on the demand that Mexico pay for the border wall.
And the wall, is it a non-starter? Is there any chance Mexico pays for the wall?
We did discuss the wall. We didn't discuss payment of the wall.
After Trump left, Peña Nieto insisted he told him that Mexico wouldn't pay.
Mexico will pay for the wall. Remember. They don't know it yet, but they're going to pay for the wall.
Trump is now calling for a new immigration standard.
It's our right as a sovereign nation to choose immigrants that we think are the likeliest to thrive and flourish and love us.
He wants a deportation task force to round up violent criminals.
Day one, my first hour in office, those people are gone.
But what of the millions of non-violent immigrants living in the country illegally?
Anyone who has entered the United States illegally is subject to deportation.
Yes, but would a President Trump actually deport those families? Today, Trump said not immediately.
We're going to make a decision at a later date once everything is stabilized. I think you're going to see there's really quite a bit of softening.
There are some Trump supporters who are deeply concerned with his latest hardline turn on immigration. In fact, Republican sources tell us that 2 members of Trump's own Hispanic Advisory Council have withdrawn their support, revoking their endorsements, Tom, of Donald Trump.
And John, tonight, some news about Hillary Clinton. The Associated Press reporting the State Department will release her detailed schedules before the election.
Yes, all 4 years of her time as Secretary of State, we will see how much of that time was spent meeting with donors to the Clinton Foundation. And Tom, these schedules will come out right in the middle of the campaign in mid-October.
That timing won't help. All right, John, thank you. Donald Trump also made headlines recently with his response after the shooting death of NBA star Dwayne Wade's cousin on a Chicago street. Just today, a new measure of that violence in Chicago in August. The police recording 90 murders, 384 shootings, 472 shooting victims in all. Again, that is just in 1 month. Now, Dwayne Wade's cousin, Nakia Aldridge, a mother of 4, one of those murdered. ABC's George Stephanopoulos spoke exclusively with Dwayne Wade today about his cousin's death and Trump's response.
Donald Trump, I know he expressed his condolences to your family. Also got a lot of reaction for this tweet he sent out where he said Dwayne Wade's cousin shot and killed walking in Chicago. Just what I have been saying, African Americans will vote Trump. What did you think when you heard that?
Well, it was kind of conflicted. You know, it's like on one end, your cousin's death is used as a ploy for political gain. On the other end, it's a national story. It goes back to that for me. I want eyes on this city. You know, I want us to be able to do more together. And the only way we can do more together if more people know what's going on. So on one end, I was grateful that it started a conversation. But on the other end, it was just a bad taste in my mouth because of, you know, of what my family is dealing with and what our city of Chicago is dealing with. And it looks like it's been used as a political game.
And George will have much more from that powerful interview with Dwayne Wade tomorrow on Good Morning America. Next, San Francisco quarterback Colin Kaepernick with another controversial move, some saying he crossed the line again. First, he refused to stand for the national anthem before a game against Green Bay. And now this image surfacing of his socks. Pigs, you see them there, dressed as police officers. And tonight, Kaepernick has a message for some in law enforcement. Here's ABC's Kenna Whitworth.
Tonight, the quarterback who ignited a firestorm for refusing to stand during the national anthem, sparking a new controversy by wearing these socks at practice, depicting police officers as pigs. Colin Kaepernick says he's worn them before as a statement against rogue police who put the community and other officers in danger by, quote, creating an environment of tension and mistrust. Now, one of the country's largest police organizations accusing Kaepernick of dishonoring officers. Tonight, the quarterback is planning to sit out the national anthem again in San Diego. The Chargers hold a tribute to veterans every year, and tonight is that night.
I don't think we'd have a player like him, frankly. I think he'd be booed out, or the owners would be forced to not accept someone like him.
But Kaepernick has said he's still sitting.
Cops are getting paid leave for killing people.
Some fans so upset they're burning his jersey, but others, like these veterans, taking to Twitter to support his right to protest. I served 25 years in the Air Force to protect everyone's First Amendment rights. I support you.
The San Francisco Police Association has invited the 49ers quarterback to visit the academy. They're also asking for an apology. Tom?
All eyes will be on him at tonight's game. All right, Kana, thank you. Next tonight, a sweeping apology by an American university for its role in the slave trade. Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. is formally apologizing and offering admission to the descendants of the slaves it once owned. Tonight, those families are welcoming the moves. Many of the country's oldest colleges own slaves, but Georgetown has gone the farthest to make amends. And new Zika worries tonight. Florida officials say 3 groups of mosquitoes in Miami Beach have tested positive for the virus. The first time Zika-carrying insects have been found in the U.S. The mosquitoes were trapped in a tourist area of South Beach, with concerns infected travelers could now spread the virus when they return home. Officials are urging residents to drain or cover standing water. And there's still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Thursday. The major mix-up at the airport. 2 children flying alone on separate flights, landing in the wrong cities. How did this happen? Coming up. Then the smartphone danger. The company forced to halt shipments of its new phone because of a possibly explosive battery. And the former college athlete behind bars, serving 3 months for sex assault, the case igniting outrage across the country. The big development that's just hours away.
So, you know, I am Consumer Cellular's #1 fan.
And I'm betting he's just one of millions.
Nobody loves saving money as much as we do.
You gotta love that plans start at just $10 a month.
Without contracts.